Well, right now, Kat Hoenke and Bill Jacobs from the Saint Kateri Conservation Center, they are also the authors of God Made That Catholic Nature Field Guide, which is a beautifully, Bishop Reed's holding that right now, beautifully illustrated book highlighting God's creation. Thank you so much, Bill and Kat, for being with us.
Well, thank
Thanks
you.
for
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Uh, Bill, maybe if we could start with you, since you're the founder of the Saint Kateri Conservation Center, what kind of work do you do there as ecologists?
We we promote Catholic faith because we believe that the solutions to preserving the earth and taking care of each other can be found there, together with science. But the faith is at least as important. We promote Catholic faith. We promote integral ecology, as can be found in Laudato Si. We promote biodiversity and climate resilience.
Very good. Kat, I have here in my very hands the field guide, and I know that you are hoping that young people especially, and along with them their parents, will be able to use this guide, this field guide, to explore not only the great outdoors, but also to grow in appreciation of what the Catholic faith teaches us about caring for the environment and appreciating the environment. Is that not the case?
That is very true. Yes. Yes, when I was younger, I really I very much loved nature and was at home outside and just loved it so much. But I had wished I think if this field guide existed when I was a kid, it would have formed my faith in a very different way that melded both the care for our common home and our faith into one. And that's what I hope that this field guide will do.
Right.
And one of the things you write about in the book is how God used nature within the sacraments. Maybe, Bill, if you could give an example of that for our viewers.
Oh, nature and the sacraments. Yes, in every mass, really, there we give thanks for creation in the offering of bread and wine, the fruit of the earth, and the work of human hands, which become the body and blood of Christ. And so every mass has some recognition and praise for God and His creation. And there's now the new Mass for the care of creation, which helps us focus even more intentionally on God's gift of creation.
I'm always going to remember that now when I celebrate Mass and I speak those words at the offertory. I just learned something, which is the whole point of this show and why we're so glad you're with us. And Kat, besides learning about species and plants, and I'm always very fascinated when I'm outside walking around, especially at this time of year, what exactly is it that I'm looking at? So those are important questions, but what other parts are there in the book that are important for people to know? Because we want people to be interested in getting a copy.
Yes, I think, one of the things that is almost, I wouldn't say hidden, but a just a very important part of this book is the way that the species and the organisms within the biomes can relate to each other and the relationships that are between them and their environment and between people and with God. So I think the relationships, how these organisms work together to fill very distinct niches, is something to me that points directly back to God, because God's love flows through all of these relationships and He really is the ultimate ecologist. And so that's what I think really part of this book is just learning that. And then also I think looking through the lens of nature and at many of the ways that Christ interacted with nature and the way He spoke and used nature imagery, all of it, it's just all through our faith throughout, braided within it. It's definitely not two separate things.
And we've mentioned a couple of times already, but as ecologists, you must have been so happy when Pope Francis published Laudato Si about caring for our common home. But what's one small thing you could encourage our audience to do to care for our common home?
Well, I've got two small things. Well, one is not small, but simple, we'll say. First, go outside. Go out with family members or friends, find a garden, a park, a lake, a forest, whatever you have nearby, and take a moment to be still, to be quiet, and listen, and to thank God for something beautiful that you see there. And the second one, if I might add, is to go to Sunday Mass. As I mentioned already, creation is praised in every Mass in a sense, and I'm speaking as an ecologist, of course. And so if you're lucky, when you go to your parish, you might see a Mary garden or a Saint Kateri habitat that inspires you to make the connection between faith and nature.
And Kat, you know, you mentioned that all these species, these creations of God, kind of live in a sort of community. And it makes me think of our patron saint at Catholic TV, Saint Therese of Lisieux, who lived in a community of sisters. But you have her listed on your website as a saint who wrote about nature. What did Therese have to say about God's creation?
Yes, you know, she spoke a lot about used flowers in the way, you know, and she is a little flower, so she spoke a lot about. I believe there was a quote from her about the clothing of a flower and how alone in the environment that flower, you know, might be a drab flower, but really it has a role. And she talked about reading the book of nature, I believe, which I didn't really realize was a thing, but being out in nature and feeling God's presence and hearing him in nature is in fact like a book of nature. And so she had a lot of that in much of what she wrote and said.
Well, honestly, Kat and Bill, I say this sincerely, I've already learned a lot, even in our brief conversation, and I'm looking forward to reading the book. But we're going to be giving one copy away at the end of the show, but I still want people to know where they can buy it. So can you help us help people to find it?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find it on the Pauline Books and Media website, and it's also on Amazon. And so those are two very obvious places to look. And then you can also find it, I believe, in their bookstores and some other shrine bookstores that have purchased it as well. So it's pretty well spread, I think.
Outstanding, and I'm glad you worked with our friends at Pauline Books and Media. They are incredible, and thanks to the two of you so much. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope that people will reach out and buy the book, and also I know somebody is going to be very fortunate at the end of the show to pick up one for free. So have a great weekend, and God bless the two of you. Thank you for your great work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.